Now we are going to discuss the topic lesson planning in English methodology. So as we know, the planning is very important one in our day-to-day life. So the planning is required in all the way. So the planning should be in categorized we can into two levels. One is the micro level and as well as the macro level. So the planning can happen in all the various stages in our teaching career. So this can be in two levels. One is the micro level and the other one is macro level. So the micro level, which we can talk about, it is for the smaller part, means the time is very restricted, hardly it is for 5 to 10 minutes. That is the micro level. Whereas coming to the macro level, which is talking about the larger time will be taken place as a part of macro planning. So based on this, as a lesson planning is very important for the teacher, especially for the language teacher. So the objectives of lesson planning. So these objectives are making the planning as very effective and to fulfill the plan. So the first objective is talking about understand and identify the academic standards, competencies to be developed among the learners. So the major objective of the language is identifying the academic standards and competencies. These should be developed among the learners. Then only the planning will be called as success. So if the academic standards were not interpreted to the students in a proper way, if the academic standards were not get satisfied or those were not achieved, definitely the objective or the planning will not be success. So here not only the academic standards, the competencies that should be developed among the learners. So that is a major objective. And coming to the next objective, become aware of the concept of discourse in language learning. So while learning the language, we have to concentrate on, we'll come to know the concept of discourses. So we have to make the learner importance of the discourses. So this is the important terminology which we can use in the preparation of the planning. And the next objective is talking about understand the need for planning both at macro level and micro level. So whatever the level it may be, we have to make a proper planning. So if there is no plan, we may not achieve the goal or the objective. The plan may not be get success. So all the way it is micro level or it will be macro level, we have to plan for in a proper way. So this is also one of the objective, understanding the need for planning both at micro level and macro level. So which is nothing but giving organization of, or the time management. So if the micro level we are concentrating on 5 to 7 or 10 minutes, so how we have to categorize and what topics are suitable, what type of skills are comfortable to teach for the micro level. So by combining all these micro levels of teaching, then we can have the macro level. So to get as a plan success, we have to concentrate on the macro level. And the next one is talking about become familiar with the objectives. Become familiar with the objectives of teaching prose, poetry and supplementary reader. The language learning is making the learners teaching prose to the students, teaching poetry and supplementary reader. So here if there is no planning, we can't make the learner to understand the prose in a proper way or poetry in a proper way. And the major one more is the supplementary reader. So here we have to make them to know the importance of supplementary reader, in what way it is going to be helpful in our developing language skills. So here one more objective is talking about familiar with the objectives of teaching prose and poetry as well as the supplementary reader. We have to make them familiar why they are learning poetry, why they are learning prose and why they are learning the supplementary reader. These all the information or these all the awareness should be there with the learners. We have to make them familiar. And the next one is design activities to make activity packs. So here the activity packs are very important one in introducing language to the learners. So these activity packs are taking a crucial role to make the classroom as active participant. So in these activity packs we can add like flashcards or jumbled words or missing letters. These all we can take help like flashcards, and we have to write it or we have to show it to the student. So whatever the activity we had shown to the student, definitely they'll come out with their answer or come out with the exact related term. So once we had done the activity packs in a proper way, definitely we can expect the result or the answer from the student. So that should be very clear to the students. And so the planning is the secret of any successful endeavor. So in our day-to-day life, without plan we can't do any work. From morning to till the bedtime, we need proper planning. Then only the works will be completed as per our time period. If there is no planning, obviously or definitely there will be a lot of interruptions will be there. The work may not be finished. Automatically these all the burdens creating the individuals to feel stress. So looking into the education system, to complete the syllabus in a proper way as per the standard or the preparation of the textbook, we have to concentrate on the planning. So the planning is a secret of any successful endeavor. Without planning we can't get the result, we can't get success. So the planning is very important one in our day-to-day life. So the planning is of unique importance in the teaching learning process. So as in our day-to-day life, and the planning had taken a crucial role. Without planning we can't complete our task as per the stipulated time period. Coming to the education system also, if there is no proper planning, for example this week I want to complete the first unit or second unit. So for that I have to go for the proper planning. What way I have to start the class and how many days I required. So on the first day what I have to teach, and not only teaching the subject or teaching content, we have to make the learners to understand and represent it in a practice manner or preparation of more number of examples. So then only our concept or the planning will be get success. So for that today I want to introduce the concept or the introduction part, and tomorrow I have to introduce the grammatical part which is related to that particular concept or the lesson, and tomorrow we can make the student to discussion part, and the next day. So this is nothing but the planning part. So once we have proper planning of before going to start one unit or the chapter, then the comfortably we can finish the syllabus as per the requirement of the student, and which is making satisfaction by the learners as well as the teacher. So the planning should be learner centered rather than the teacher centered. So as we are discussing, the learning process or the classroom or the syllabus is meant for the students, means the child centered. So the classroom is constructed or the syllabus is constructed based on the standard of the student. So here instead of thinking about the teacher centered, we have to focus on the child centric education system. So what way the teacher is going to be helpful, or what way the teacher has to represent the concept, that should be a part of the teacher. So instead of thinking about the teacher centered, they have to make the classroom as learner centered or the child centric education. So the child centric education system is nothing but making all the students active participants in the classroom. Once they completed the class, they must have some knowledge about that particular concept. So the classroom is meant for 45 minutes, which is like macro level. So these 45 minutes, what type of concepts the student has to be learned, that should be very clear to the teacher. So that clarity if the teacher is having, definitely teacher can make the classroom as very effective classroom. So that for that we require proper planning. So the class is meant for 45 minutes. Within how the teacher has to plan. So in the initial stage, when the teacher enter into the classroom, the first 5 minutes the teacher has to ask the questions like motivation questions or which is nothing but creating stimulus among the student, because previously they have the other subject. So still the student maybe have the thought of the same subject. So here we have to attract the student towards our subject, that particular subject. So for that we need some stimulus from the student by asking some general questions and by asking some the past class what happened and the previous same class what they discussed. These are like for few minutes we can have interaction with the students. So after that definitely the student will come out for the language classroom. So once they were tuned towards the language classroom, then they can open the textbook and what point the teacher want to say and what topic that can be write it on the blackboard, and the next one the explanation part will be taken place. While the explanation also they can have some interaction of the terminology or the difficult words, or the first time they are looking into that word, these all the interaction will be taken place. So after completion of the class, again the teacher has to give opportunity to read the lesson with silently as well as the loud reading. Then they can have some interaction if they have any doubt, which is nothing but the recapitulation. After that the teacher has to give the homework. So this is possible for 45 minutes if the teacher is having proper planning. If there is no planning, if there is no proper planning, definitely there will be a uncertainty will be there in the classroom teaching. So for that the classroom all the time has to think about it will be for the child centric, not for the teacher centric learning. So to make the classroom as very effective one, as we are talking about the planning part. So in that planning we have to follow certain academic standards. The academic standards and achieving the academic standards as well as competencies, fulfilling the competencies, these are major part of the objective. So coming to the academic standards. So the academic standards define that the knowledge and skills, define that the knowledge and skills that students are expected, the students are expected to learn and use them at a specific stage of their education and life at large. So once we look into the academic standards, it is defined that the knowledge and skills, so whatever the knowledge they are learning and what type of skills they are learning, that students are expected to learn. So teaching something means obviously the teacher will expect some learning outcomes from the learner or from the student. So here the knowledge and skills that students are expected to learn and use them at a specific stage of their education and life at large. So they are learning knowledge, they are getting some skills. So that skills and knowledge must be utilized, or they must be used them at a specific stage where and when it is required. That only the education system. Then the objective or the academic standard will be fulfilled. If there is no usage of knowledge and skill, definitely there is no learning process. So the learning is nothing but having some behavioral changes. So whatever they learned as a school part, that should be available in their day-to-day life. Then only that will be a meaningful one. So here the academic standards also talking that whatever the knowledge and skills the student are expected to learn, and they have to use them at a specific stage of their education and life at large. Once they have the confidence of learning language, definitely they can avail and try to improve more and more knowledge. So the academic standards are designed to help. These academic standards are designed to help to plan teaching tasks and achieve the objectives of particular course. So each and every course is having their own particular objectives. So these objectives must be fulfilled. Once the academic standards are designed to help, once the academic standards are designed to help to plan teaching tasks and achieve the objectives of particular course. So the planning of teaching skills as well as academic standards design, these should be achieved then only the objectives of particular course will be fulfilled. So each and every course having their own particular objectives. For example, coming to the teacher course, the teacher training course. So the main objective or fulfilling the course is make the student to getting perfection with the academic standards, and how they can in their day-to-day life, in what extent they are going to avail the academic standards in their practical life. That will be the important objective. So that objective definitely should be fulfilled for the particular course. So the major principal aim of any language curriculum is to promote literacy. So ultimately every individual is trying to promote for the language curriculum is for what? It is to promote literacy. So here the term literacy. So what does literacy means? It is the ability to read and write. As we know, the language basic skills, listening, speaking, reading and writing, fulfilling those four basic skills of language, then that will be the effective of language learning. Compulsory, those basic skills should be fulfilled. That is a major objective. So here the literary is a term, it is the ability to read and write. That is a major principle of the language curriculum. So as per UNESCO, it had given definition for this literary is, it is an ability to identify, understand, interpret, create, communicate, compute and use printed and written material associated with their varying context. So as per UNESCO, it had given it is an ability to identify, understand. Identification is the first one. Whatever they identified, that should be understood, and interpretation, using them in their day-to-day life, and create. Based on the knowledge, they have to create their among themselves, and communicate. So this is nothing but the practice of the language. And compute. So if they have the two situations, in what way they are going to have differentiate and what way they are going to represent, that clarity should be there with the learners. And use printed and written material associated with varying contexts. To make these academic standards as very effective, here we are depending on different types of materials. So the material may be which is in the form of printed material or maybe in a written material. So these all the aspects were associated with the varying context. So this was the term they defined by the UNESCO. NCF, National Curriculum Framework 2005. As for National Curriculum Framework 2005, it had given the goals for second language curriculum with the twofold system. Actually, the English language is considered as the third language. So the first language is the mother tongue or the regional language, and the second language is the national language as Hindi, and the third language is the English or the foreign language. So later, based on the so many committees and commission with the suggestions of so many social reformers and the educationalists, we are coming to know the importance of English language. So based on the importance of English language, it was considered that English language should be taught not as the third language, that should be converted for the second language. So here there were twofold system were introduced by the NCF, National Curriculum Framework 2005. It had given twofold goals for the second language curriculum. In this, the first one is talking about the attainment of a basic proficiency. So the first one is attainment of basic proficiency. So first of all, the main goal of the curriculum is basic proficiency, making them perfect with the language. So here the term they had given BICS, BICS, basic interpersonal communication skills. BICS, basic interpersonal communication skills, that is BICS. The basic proficiency is the first goal of the second language curriculum, which was suggested by National Curriculum Framework as per 2005. as per 2005. The second goal is the development of language into an instrument for abstract thought and knowledge acquisition. So the first goal is talking about focusing on attainment of basic proficiency, minimum proficiency of language. The second goal is talking about the development of language into an instrument. It is like an instrument. The language is like an instrument for abstract thought and knowledge acquisition. So here they had given the term, the first basic proficiency they had given the term as BICS, B-I-C-S, basic interpersonal communication skills. Whereas second goal is talking about CALP, CAL, C-A-L-P. It is defined that cognitive academic linguistic proficiency, CALP, cognitive academic linguistic proficiency. So these are the twofold goals which were suggested by National Curriculum Framework, especially teaching second language. Looking into the academic standards. Once to get the perfection with the planning, we have to follow this academic planning. If we have to look into the academic standards, then the planning will be getting us success. So the coming to first academic standard is listening comprehension, speaking, reading comprehension, conventions of writing, vocabulary, grammatical awareness and creative expression. So the academic standards are listening comprehension, speaking, reading comprehension, conventions of writing, vocabulary, grammatical awareness and creative expression. So here the creative expression may be in the form of oral or written. The creative expression may be in the form of oral or written. So entering into the academic standards, we used to know the term discourse. So this is also one of the major term which we have to look into that while writing the academic standards as well as while preparing the periodic plan, the discourse. So the discourse is a spoken or written communication. The discourse is a spoken or written communication between people, especially serious discussion of a particular subject. If the student were talking about the subject part, then there will be a discourses. So the discourse is focusing on spoken and the written communication between two people, especially for the serious discussion of a particular subject. So the discourse major aim is focusing on spoken or written communication between two people. It should be in between two people. Coming to the first academic standard, listening comprehension. So all the language learning begins with the listening. So the mother tongue learning is also possible through the listening, whereas coming to the learning second language and the third language learning is also with the listening. So here we have the two terms, listening and hearing. So first of all, we'll know the difference between hearing and listening. So hearing means just while the class is going on, different sounds will be there near the classroom. So here the sounds will be making disturbance to the student, but they are not focusing or they are not giving attainment for that, they are not giving alert for that, but their concentration is towards the class. So the listening is focused on if we have any disturbance in the classroom also, the student concentrated on the class or to the teacher, then that will be the listening. Means here paying attention, listening with comprehension means they have the interest that the major comprehension is the student want to learn something. Obviously they will listen the class. So the first academic standard is listening comprehension. All the language learning begins with the listening. So here to make the listening, the learner must be able to perform. To make the listening comprehension as effective, the learner must be able to perform listening to oral information and comprehending the text. So, first of all, listening to oral communication and comprehending the message. So, in our day-to-day life, we are listening to so many words or so many things or so many concepts, but all the listenings may not kept in the mind, we can't remember. So, whatever the information is required for us, whatever the information is useful for us, definitely we will comprehend, we will keep in the mind, and whenever it is required, we will try to share with others. So, all the listenings will not be possible to keep in the mind. What exactly is required, that only will focus and try to get it more information, and when the situation comes, we will try to exhibit. So, here the listening to oral communication and comprehending the message. And the next, listening to simple instructions, directions and interactions and respond accordingly. So, in our day-to-day life, we are having a lot of conversation with so many people. So, in this we are following some simple instructions and we are following certain directions, and what way I have to speak with the elders, and what way I have to speak with parents, and what way I have to speak with the teachers, and these all the instructions will be there with the students. And when we have the interaction with such type of people, definitely we have to follow certain directions and we have to follow certain instructions. So, based on that we have to respond. If it is the time to respond, definitely the learner has to respond by keeping in the mind some simple instructions and directions. And the next point is talking about listening to a variety of discourses and responding according in classroom and other situation. So, the listening to a variety of discourses and responding accordingly. So, as we are listening to so many discussions, as we are listening to so many words or the sentences in our day-to-day life, if wantedly we are listening or unnecessarily we have to listen so many things from the other speakers. So, here all the points may not keep in the mind. So, whatever the required information or what exactly you want, just based on that you are going to comprehending the message. So, the listening to a variety of discourses and respond accordingly in the classroom and other situation. For example, in the classroom, if the teacher asks any question for one particular student, definitely immediately the student has to react for that, have to react for the teacher or for that question, then that will be the meaningful one. If any situation happens in the classroom, immediately the student has to react, then only that is called as the real learning. Next academic standard is talking about speaking. So, the student must be able to speak English correctly, fluently, appropriately, with acceptable grammatical structure and suitable to the context. So, this is also one of the major basic skill of the language speaking. So, the main intention of the language is the student or the learner has to speak out what they learn, then only the teacher will come to know where the student is lagging. That will be very clear. So, the student must be able to speak English correctly, fluently, appropriately, with acceptable grammatical structure and suitable to the context. So, these all the mistakes will be overcome by the more number of practices, or speaking is only the source to come out with it. Exactly how the word is pronouncing, the pronunciation will be clear, exactly how the word should be spelled. If the student won't speak, definitely they won't come out how to pronounce the word. And continuously speaking in the classroom or usage of the English terminology, definitely the fluency will come to the student. And once we are practicing such type of words as a fluent, definitely will come to know the appropriateness as well as acceptable grammatical structures and suitable context also aware of the student. So, here it should be as a part of regular practice. So, these practice is making to overcome all the grammatical errors as well as getting exact fluency among the learners. So the speaking is a very good source to come out with their talents. So to make this speaking skill as effective one, the learner must be able to perform, participating in classroom transactions and responding orally. When the student is having opportunity to speak out in the classroom, definitely they have to participate and respond orally. So whatever they are feeling exactly about that particular concept, that should be speak out by the students. So already we are talking about the child-centric system of education, or the classroom should be learner-oriented, not for the teacher-oriented. So make all the students to participate in the classroom for the transaction as well as for the response from the students. And the next one is talking about participating in a variety of oral activities. Participating in a variety of oral activities. So in the class we can create so many types of activities, language related games or role play or skit, drama, and we can have the quiz competitions and making the crossword puzzles in the class and all those. So these all the possible activities which we can create within the classroom environment. So here the teacher has to make the student to participate and respond for the variety of oral activities. And the next one is participating in activities like role play, drama and skit. So here every student will show interest to participate these type of activities. So each and every student will avail these opportunity to perform or to prove their creativity levels in the classroom. So the classroom is a platform for the learners. Speaking with proper intonation, pronunciation, stress, tone and pitch. Once they have the chance to speak out, then they are coming to know how exactly the word should be pronounced. And the next one, where I have to give the stress, tone and pitch. Some words we have to give with the low voice and some should be with the high pitch. So that variation will come to know while trying to speak out. And reciting rhymes, songs and poems. These all making practice for the students to by heart the poems and songs and the rhymes. So this is one of the important or the interesting activity to the student to learn songs, poems and the rhymes. The next academic standard is reading comprehension. So the student must be able to read silently at an appropriate speed with the proper comprehension. So we are reading the textbook with proper comprehension, means here paying some attention towards reading the textbook. The comprehension is nothing but paying proper attention towards the learning. So here in the reading comprehension, the student must be able to read silently at an appropriate speed with proper comprehension. So in general, after within the classroom 45 minutes, the teacher has to give few minutes to read the textbook or the content whatever explained by the teacher for few minutes as a silent reading, so that every student will have or the concentration towards the paragraph or the sentences. So here the student must be able to read silently at an appropriate speed with the proper comprehension. And the same time, when they are growing up, when they are going for the higher educational studies, the silent reading is going to be helpful in all the way. So the silent reading is more creating one experience to the learners how to develop the silent reading. So to make this as very effective one, the learners must be able to perform reading variety of discourses and comprehending, referring dictionary, thesaurus and encyclopedia and other reference material when they are required. Once they are reading with the comprehension, with intention, comprehension is nothing but learning with the interesting or with intention. So automatically it is making to fulfill whatever the required information they want, they are trying to refer with other alternatives. Like the dictionary is one of the alternative to gain more information, means here to get the root word or to get the basic word or prefix, suffix or grammatical part, whether the word is in which form it is, whether it is indicating noun form or whether it is indicating adjective form. That will be very clear in these all the reference materials like dictionary, thesaurus and encyclopedia and other resource material when required. So these all the basic information will be available to get more information. And reading level specific pictures, graphs, tables and decoding the idea. So once they have the perfect with the content, by looking into the pictures definitely they can express what type of picture it is indicating. What is the theme behind the picture? What is the theme behind the picture? Exactly what the picture is indicating, what concept it is delivering to the viewers. And the next one, looking into the graphs. So the graphs are one of the sources to elaborate like developmental aspects or progress of the students. The graph is one of the source to give complete information with a short time, so that every individual, so the academic standards or the results of that particular school, the 10th class results of that particular school for 2017 will be like this, 2016 like this. So automatically the graph sheet indicating that these all the results, this is the development of the school. And looking into the tables and decoding the idea. So these all nothing but making the learner or the student to participate in the active manner. And the next one, reading the discourses analytically and identifying the theme and sub-themes. So we have to concentrate on the reading discourses, and this is giving analysis part and identifying the theme and sub-theme. Once we are studying with the intention, once we are studying with the interestingly, definitely that is going to give analysis part and identifying what exactly the theme behind this and what it is indicating and what it is expressing. Theme and sub-theme will be very clear, and they can analyze when the situation comes. Definitely they can analyze, they can elaborate that particular theme. And coming to the next one is talking about the conventions of writing. This is also one of the important academic standard conventions of writing. It includes the ability to use proper punctuations. It includes the ability to use proper punctuations, correct spelling, use of capitalization wherever necessary. So the conventions of writing is one of the important factor in fulfilling the academic standards, the objective of the academic standards. So here it is including the ability to use proper punctuations. And so while writing a letter to officials, what way we have to represent and how we have to greet the persons, higher authorities, and if the student is writing a letter to the headmaster, and what way they have to represent and what type of spellings they have to use, and where they have to start with the capital letters, and where they have to give punctuations like full stop and comma and question marks and all those, the correct spelling. So few spellings were going to make confusion to the student, like the simple example like principal. So they are going to have confusion with these two spellings. So they are trying, there is a chance for having the mistake writing although spelling. So here the correct spelling should be known by the student. So this is possible by having proper vocabulary with the students. So if the child, by completing their school education, they must be perfect with the 3000 to 4000 vocabulary, and around 300 to 400 structure they should be get perfect with that, so that vocabulary and that structures are making the learners in building the confidence of language, speaking or writing part. So the conventions of writing, if they want to represent anything, that should represent it in a proper way by following certain instructions or by following some rules and regulations. So this is going to be include the ability to use proper punctuations, correct spelling, use of capitalization wherever necessary. So these all the instructions will be given by the language teachers. So the teacher has to provide enough practice in writing by assigning various tasks and exercises. So here, to get perfection with the conventions of writing, the language teacher has to give more number of exercises, more number of practices. So these practice is making the learners getting perfection or representing the words in a proper way. The best way to familiarize the learner with conventions of writing is by editing the work. And one more part, as a language teacher, if we assign any practice work to the student, that should be corrected by the language teacher. So then only they are coming to know what are the mistakes they had done. So for the next time writing, they are not going to commit such type of mistakes. So that work should be done by the language teachers. So to make these writing conventions, the learner must be able to perform. They should be able to write legibly by mastering the shapes, size and strokes. So whatever writing they are writing on the paper or they are writing on the blackboard, that should be legibly visible by all the students, by everyone, and by mastering the space. So from word to word they have to use a proper space and size, that should be visible. Minimum size we have to write, and strokes. So these we have to follow to make the conventions of writing as effective one. And next, they should be able to write personal notes, letters, messages, summaries, reports and all those. They are writing the diaries and all those. So these all the activities are making them to have practice with the writing skill. So they are writing the personal notes. So based on that, they have to look into the sentence completion, and meaningful sentences will be practiced with their running notes. And the letters. So what way we have to represent for the higher authorities, to whom we are writing a letter and what subject we have to give, and they are coming to know the body of the letter exactly. If there is no practice of all such type of activities, they are not going to get perfection with the writing skill. And messages. While writing message, what are the precautions or what are the measures we have to follow? To write a summary of any textbook, how it should be represented, and how we have to start the summary, and what should be there in the middle part, and how they are going to conclude. The summary should be in the order. And the next one, reports. To write a report, what way you are going to write a report. For example, if you attended any seminar or any workshop, so the teacher asked you, otherwise in general the school vacation time they used to go for the excursions. So based on that, excursion is meant for 2 days or 3 days or 1 week. So here the teacher can assign the student to write it as a report. So what are the different activities were taken place as a time schedule as well as day-wise schedule. So here based on it they are going to represent in the form of report. So these all will be practiced or getting perfection through only the practice. And they should be able to write sentences using appropriate grammatical structure. Once repeatedly writing the such type of assignments and all those activities, definitely they are coming to know what way we have to frame the sentences, and grammatical part also taken care while writing these type of exercises. And the next academic standard is talking about the vocabulary. So the knowledge of good vocabulary is an indispensable tool for effective communication. So here the structures are giving like skeleton to the language. The vocabulary is giving a flesh and organ. So once these vocabulary of the knowledge is with the student, then they can have good communication. So how exactly words should be used, what type of words, and based on the situation they are trying to use such type of vocabulary. So the vocabulary is also improves students' ability to communicate through speaking, listening and writing. Once they have good vocabulary with them, so command over the vocabulary means here they should have the word power, they should have more words with them. How the dictionary is having different types of words, like if the student is having such type of words with them, definitely that words is going to make them as more powerful, and it is going to improve the students' ability to communicate through speaking, listening and Writing automatically, the vocabulary part is making the learner's confidence while writing or speaking or listening to someone. And the next part is talking about the grammar. In general, the students will commit so many mistakes at writing part of the grammar because only the lack of practice. So to make the student as a grammar part with the perfection, only the source is regular practice. So the language grammar should be at least few exercise per day they have to make as practice. So the grammar defined as a body of rules. The grammar defined as a body of rules that describes the structures of words, phrases, clauses and sentences. So the grammar is defined as a body of rules that describes the structure of words. So the grammar is talking about the structure of words and phrases, clauses and sentences, what type of sentence it is. So the grammar is a combination of all these different types of structures. So in the next academic standard is talking about creative expression. So in this creative expression, this can be expressed to the students as a oral or written form. So in this creative expression, the students must be able to express their ideas in oral and written form of the language. So once the language teacher had given opportunity to the student to speak out in the classroom, definitely it is going to have or it is going to represent for the oral communication of the student. So automatically the terminology whatever they want to represent, how they are constructing the words and what way they are representing the concept, that will be as a part of the creativity levels. Whereas coming to the writing form, if the teacher had given opportunity to describe the nature or any particular concept which is interesting to the student, otherwise the teacher can give option to the student, select any important point or select any important incident or activity and describe that. So automatically the student will try to focus on more interestingly what exactly they want to say. So for that maximum they are trying to use more number of words, and here the teacher can encourage the student by giving some to make perfection with this, the teacher can write some exercises on the blackboard by giving some fill in the blanks or by giving some clues. So that is also going to encourage the student for developing the writing skill. So to improve these creative expression, the student must be able to express their ideas. So the ideas should be expressed. So what way they are expressing their ideas? It may be in the form of oral or written. So the creative expression may be in the form of oral form or it may be in the form of written form. So the only thing is the language teacher has to give sufficient or the comfortable environment to share the ideas with orally or written form. So the maximum practice is required for the students to express their words. So here again these oral and written communication is having depend on the vocabulary. If they are good at command over the words, if they are good at grammatical skills or the representative skills, automatically it is representing in the oral and the written expression. So the creative expression can be more successful if they have the habit of more listening. So whatever they learned, whatever they listen by the experts, definitely that will be interpreted in the mind. And next one is the speaking skill. So if they have opportunity to speak out, that words will be incorporated in the mind. Wherever they require, they will try to represent. And reading is also one of the source. So they are trying to reading with comprehension. Just simply they are not reading the text. They are reading the textbook with a lot of interest. So that is making them to learn with the more number of activities or more number of practices. Like reading can be taking help of reference skills, like looking into thesaurus or a dictionary or encyclopedia and looking into so many articles or looking into the textbooks or taking help of internet resources. So these all making us to gain more and more knowledge which is possible in the reading comprehension. So when these are perfect with this listening, speaking and the reading, then it is going to be represented in the writing part. When they are ready to write any examination part or when they are ready to participate to represent themselves, which will be in the form of written form, definitely these all aspects are going to make helpful for the learners. So here this is a way the learners must be able to participate in various oral tasks and activities like debate, discussion, speeches and etc. So these facilities, these type of opportunities should be provided by the teachers and the school environment. So here the debates can be conducted within the classroom or among the different sections of the same class, or it can be conducted in the competition among the other schools, and we can have like discussions with the other schools. So the panel will be selected and the topic will be selected. Based on that, we have given an opportunity to speak out on that particular topic, so that every child is trying to share their views as a part of the discussion. And the next we have to provide an opportunity to participate in speeches when they have any school functions were there. If we have any official programs were there, definitely we can arrange them to speak out. So here these all the different types of activities are making the learners to represent in what extent they learn. So this is also one of the evaluation part is going to assessed by the students, and also making the teachers in what extent they learn, what way I have to teach to the student. So this evaluation process will be taken place as a part of providing all such type of opportunities to the students. So here for the learners, we have to create and make them to participate in various oral tasks, as well as like oral tasks may be conducting debates or making them as a role play, means like we have in the supplementary reader, like drama, we have different types of drama and all those. So drama characters will be taken place. The one student has to act as one character, the other student. So automatically once they are acting like different characters of that particular novel, definitely deeply they are involving that character and try to exhibit what they understood and what they want to express. So these all nothing but making more practice for the learners in all the way in teaching the academic standards. So in addition to oral tasks, the learners must be able to write various tasks like descriptions, narrative, conversations and diary. So to encourage towards the oral task, we can make them have participating in speeches and all those to improve the writing part. So already we discussed the discourses. So the discourses are nothing but focusing on speaking and writing. So the speaking skill will be available by having more number of speeches or discussions. These all one of the source. And writing part we can have for the description of any one event or description of any one situation which they feel more happy, and that happiness should be incorporated in the form of written form. So what type of vocabulary they are representing and what way they are expressing their happiness, these all will be by putting on paper. And the narration. So once they had a habit of reading story books or reading novels, definitely they have to write like summaries. So exactly what it is indicating, and narrations and conversations. So by looking into the novels, what type of conversation among all the individuals, these all will be very clear. And one more habit is making diary. This is also one of the good source for the improvement of their knowledge as well as all the area. So by looking into this, we will come to know the importance of academic standards. So especially the major objective is focusing on the academic standards or major basic skills, those are L, S or W. So, to fulfill all those objectives, we have to concentrate on these academic standards. So, especially the language development is possible through the regular practice. So, just not only listening in the classroom to the subject teacher or the language teacher, that should be utilized in their day-to-day life, then only the language is going to be developed. To strengthening the language, the teacher has to give more number of practical exercises or the tasks, or which may be in the it may be in the form of group activity or it may be in the form of individual activity. So, few topics will be available to the students as a individual activities, and few topics may be converted or categorizing into group. So, looking into group activity and individual activities, by this group definitely there will be a unity will be developed among the students, and collaborative work will be happen, sharing of the knowledge will be there. In the same time, we can develop one more aspect, that is the leadership quality is also going to be increased. So, by this fulfilling all these academic standards, so whatever the discourse is focusing, the language concepts should be fulfilled in a proper way. So, these all the different types of different academic standards, and as per UNESCO, it was defined the literary term as well as the academic standards term, and the next one by giving NCF 2005 National Curriculum Framework, it had given goals like two-folded. So, in this in that we discussed about the one is about the CALP, CALP is the first term, and the next one is talking about the BICS, which is talking about the basic interpersonal communication skills, and CALP is talking about the cognitive, academic, linguistic proficiency. So, whatever the concepts we discussed, these are focusing on the fulfilling the academic standards, which is based on the objective. So, the objective should be fulfilled. So, these are the importance of academic standards to make planning as very effective planning. So, the planning is very important one in our day-to-day life. So, the planning may be whether it may be short term or for the it is for short period or it is for the long period, at any cost that should be fulfilled, then only the planning will be get success. Thank you.